Hi, this is Julie Harland, and I'm your Math Gal. Please visit my website at yourmathgal.com, where you could search for any of my videos organized by topic. All right, this is synthetic division part 6, and we're doing a little bit more complicated problem this time. First of all, note the terms over here are not in descending order. I've got the constant first, then the x term, and then the highest degree, the x squared term. So it's easier if you write those in descending order. 12x squared minus 23x plus 5 when we do our thing with the coefficients. Okay, what's the next step? You take this part here, the 4x minus 1, set it equal to 0, and that's the number that goes in the little box. And what about this 4? How does that affect the problem? We divide coefficients in the quotient by 4. So if you want to use synthetic division instead of long division here, if there's a coefficient in front of x, you have to divide the quotient by that coefficient. Okay, so let's try this problem. We're going to have 1/4 in the little box. We've got to put these coefficients in order: 12, negative 23, and 5. All right, so how do we start? You bring down the first term. Well, I'm going to do my little thing for my remainder right now. Bring down the first term, which is 12. Hey, by the way, try this on your own without me first. All right, so then we do 12 times 1/4 is, well, what's 1/4 of 12? Can you do that in your head? That's plus 3. And then we add these two. Negative 23 plus 3 is negative 20. Could you do that in your head? 1/4 of negative 20? It's going to be negative 5. So you know what? We get a 0 remainder. But we have to remember to divide the coefficients over here. You don't divide the quotient, just the coefficients, by 4. So you have to divide these coefficients by 4. All right, so these will be the coefficients in the answer. That's your constant term. That is your x term. So we have 12 divided by 4 is what? 3. So we have 3x minus 5 for the answer. This should be pretty easy to check. Let's go ahead and check it. So here was the problem. 5 minus 23x plus 12x squared divided by 4x minus 1. So if we got the answer of 3x minus 5, then when we check it, all we have to do is 4x minus 1 times 3x plus 5. All right, so let's do that. We have 12x squared minus 20x minus 3x plus 5, which is 12x squared minus 23x plus 5. And is that this original polynomial up here? Yes, that's the same thing, right? 5 minus 23x plus 12x squared is the same, so that's true. So that's interesting. What does that mean if you do the division and you don't get a remainder? It means that if you knew how to factor it, you would have gotten the same answer. So the original problem here, if I wrote it like this, descending order, 12x squared minus 23x plus 5. Remember, we could write it as divided by 3x minus 5. What it means is if you could have factored this numerator, you would have been able to cancel that 3x minus 5. So that's just something interesting. If you would have factored the numerator using any method you want, it factors to 4x minus 1 times 3x minus 5. And those would have canceled. That would have been a different way to do the problem. In fact, usually if you have a polynomial with just in the second degree, so just the x squared term and it looks like this. I usually try factoring to see if it cancels before I do long division, but you could always just do long division to find out if it factors. You could actually go the other way around. And so it makes sense looking at it this way as well. So this is the correct answer. We checked it. And that's one more problem doing synthetic division to do a problem like this. I'm going to go over one more on the next video. Just looks a little bit more complicated. We'll do something that's higher than the second degree, like maybe to the third power. And then I think we're pretty much hopefully getting a synthetic division down. There is something called synthetic substitution that looks exactly the same, but as far as how you do the problem, but means something else. So those will probably be interesting for you to look at as well. Please visit my website at yourmathgal.com, where you can view all of my videos, which are organized by topic.